From Spamtown, USA, Austin, Minnesota, this is the Austin Bruins Coaches Show. We break down the big hits, the spectacular saves, and the clutch goals with the men behind the bench. Get the inside scoop with exclusive insight, strategy, and stories from your Austin Bruins coaches. And now, here's your host, David Coyer, alongside Bruins head coach Steve Howard.
Fresh off of a bye week, the Austin Bruins are back in action this weekend against the Watertown Shamrocks for the first time this season. The Bruins coming off of a weekend sweep of the Minot Minotaurs. Here to break it down on another edition of the Austin Bruins Coaches Show. I have with me head coach Steve Howard. I'm David Coyer, the voice of the Bruins. Coach, always great to have you back here on the program. I'm not sure if you had a chance to listen to Al Rooney's episode, but we do have a new intro to the Coaches Show. A little voiceover work by a good friend of yours, TJ Shalat, did a little bit of the voiceover work, so you will be hearing that on your episode. He was very kind enough to do that for us.
That's great. I don't listen to our episode, though.
I know you never listen to when you and I do it, but that's why I wanted to see if you had noticed that TJ did the voiceover on the last one.
I listened to Al's. You guys did a great job, and I love having TJ do that for us. So, yeah, he was a good one.
TJ always willing to help out. So huge shout out and thank you to TJ Shalat, former Bruins broadcaster. Coach, as we mentioned, another big character win coming back on October 17th against the Minot Minotaurs, down 3-1 against the Toros, coming back, winning in overtime. We've had a couple character wins this season. Can you break down this most recent one against Minot?
Yeah, were we down? I thought we were down 4-0 halfway through the game. Were we not?
It was a 4-3 game. The 4-0 was against North Iowa a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
We broke down that one with Al, but no, this time it was just a 3-1.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we were down 2 goals against them.
In your defense, you weren't behind the bench for the game.
Yeah. No, I don't know why I wasn't behind the bench. But, anyways, long story short, I was suspended. So, yeah, I got to watch that one from over, and I had the Bears Den all by myself that day. But, yeah, no, it was a great win. I'm glad that the guys came back and you know, that's been our group this year. We call them character wins, when you can be down by 4 goals or 2 goals like we have a couple of times this year and find a way. Our guys, especially being that we scored, 2 of the goals in the last 2 minutes and 35 seconds or something like that. And obviously we're pretty excited for Xander Lipsick getting both the game tying goal and then the game winner. So it wasn't I'm sure he would have scripted it a little different than falling over and bouncing it off a skate, but we'll take it any way we can get it.
And it's funny enough, I was talking with Xander about it on Saturday, and we have the new promo, the Hot Off the Press Comics and Coffee Superhero of the Game, which hasn't hit yet. It's if that player scores a goal that night, fans can take their tickets to Hot Off the Press for a couple of different prizes. But what we have noticed is there'll be the Superhero of the Game one night, and then the next night is when they score their goals. It happened with Simon, it happened with Matsby, and it happened with Xander. He was actually the Superhero of the Game the week before, and then he has a 2-goal performance. And Matsby was it Friday night, and he scored Saturday. So right now it's a little bit of a curse, but hopefully we can actually get it to hit one of these times. But speaking,
is it a curse or is it a blessing?
Maybe maybe it's just maybe we have to do it. It's like if they score the game after, and that's where it starts getting complicated. But talking about Xander, you mentioned he had the game tying goal, game winning goal. He's really seemed to have grown into himself over these, the one season he was here last year and now so far this year. He's got 2 multi-goal performances already, and both of those were in come-from-behind victories. He had 2 goals in the comeback win against Bismarck. Talk about just the growth you've seen out of him and how he's really stepped into the role that he's in currently.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it goes back 3 years. We tendered him early on. He was like a November tender for us, 3 years ago, and we wanted to grab him. He was high on my list of guys. I think we needed some size, some grit, and then, we've quickly found out that he has some skill too. He was their leading scorer on that Tri-State Spartans team that, his dad actually ran the program for a while there. We all liked him. All of our coaching staff, our scouts liked him. We were able to get him signed to a tender. And then after his season ended and, Tri-State didn't have that good a year that year. They were done pretty early. We asked him to come in and practice with us at the end of that year and just get to learn the lay of the land and how we do things. I think he was able to play the very last weekend. We put him in a game, but we were in a little bit of a dogfight. I think it just came down to that very last weekend where it didn't matter. We were finally secured our playoff spot, and we got to put him in, and he did great in that game. And then that summer, I think he grew another 2 or 3 inches. And it was funny because when he came, not a lot of people know about this, but he didn't have a great camp, and it wasn't necessarily he didn't have a great camp or even preseason. It was just that he was still growing into his body and trying to figure some things out physically. Mm-hmm. And then the more and more you watched him as he was getting on the ice every day, and he's his dad played in the American League. His dad is a former hockey player, pro hockey player. His brother played. His brother actually played for Maryland when they beat us in the finals, and they work hard. And so to watch him stay on the ice after our practices, especially when he was visiting that year, and he was just a practice player, like you could see the drills he was doing were like he wasn't just out there playing a game of rebound. He was out there working hard. And I remember watching him going, that kid's going to be a player. And, he started to pop a month into the season. He just started figuring it out, and he started scoring some goals, and he's had some highlight reel goals. I mean, some skill plays that, I couldn't do, and there's a lot of guys in that locker room that probably can't do them. And, for a kid like that's 6'5", 6'6", and still probably growing, it's kind of fun to watch when you see a kid being able to pull some of the moves he does with that extra long stick he has and reach. So, once again, coming back his second year, we always talk about a second-year swagger. I think every coach in our league talks about it. It's nice to have a guy come back after he knows the lay of the land, kind of played every team in your division, and you have some comfortability there. Some come back complacent, but, we knew Xander's character and what he was, and that he was going to be one of our leaders this year. And he came back, and he's proven that, it's a second-year swagger that he has. And, he's scored some big goals for us, especially, that very first game when we played against Bismarck. He's the guy that gets it done. He plays with a lot of pace, and once again, the grit that he has is he's a fearless hockey player. He's going to have a long career as long as he stays healthy.
Who can forget the highlight reel goal he had in Game 1 against Minot in the playoffs between the legs? I mean, I even gave the SportsCenter top 10 kind of dun-na-na on the call just because I hadn't seen a goal that cool all season long. Xander actually also got to ride the Zamboni at the Minnesota Golden Gophers hockey game this Saturday. No one really wanted to do it, and then he was just like, I'll do it, and he ends up going out there, and he would ride a Zamboni 10 times out of 10 if you ask him now anymore. That was probably his favorite thing of the night, was riding the Zamboni. So Xander Lipset having a great season so far and getting some cool experiences.
He's riding the Zamboni in between periods, and he could easily be playing against. I don't know if Air Force Academy's going there next year, but he's going to be playing, and he's not going to be able to. That's kind of funny that he gets to ride the Zamboni in probably a building that he's going to actually play at in the next year or two. So.
Moving on, I mentioned this already, 3 come-from-behind victories of 2 goals or more this season. I mean, we mentioned the Bismarck game, you mentioned the North Iowa game, and then now Minot. From a coaching perspective, do you guys focus on the positives of those games where it's, hey, we have this resiliency, we have this drive to continue to come back in these games, or do you focus on fixing maybe the issues that lead to putting the team in those sort of situations?
Both, but mainly it's the positive. I mean, it's tough to do for any team to come back from being down, especially as much as we've done it so early. It's good teams find a way to win is what you always say, and what you gotta have that mindset and figuring out how to win. You have to go through those moments to prove to yourself in your locker room, the rest of the team, that you can do it. And that's, for us, like couple of those games, we had either shot ourselves in the foot by taking maybe a dumb penalty, or there was a couple of fluke goals that have happened in some of those games where you just couldn't do anything about them. But if you let those drag you down, you're giving up. And our guys certainly weren't giving up, and winning those games the way we did, those 3. We want to keep that going. We want every team to stay focused on, the fact that Austin could come back and bite us if we fall asleep on them, and having the guys do that all 3 times in the first 10, 11 games has been something for us that we're definitely keeping that as a feather in our cap and not looking at it being a negative thing, because it's a tough league to win in. It really is, and there's definitely moments where some guys aren't playing their best hockey, or maybe it's a situation where you're killing a lot of penalties, and hey, at the same time you gotta find a way, and they have.
And you've mentioned a couple times throughout the year or throughout the episodes here on the Coaches Show and even some press conferences that when you're looking to build your lines, you're not looking to build, your 4 separate lines like usually you see. You want 4 first lines, and it's really started to seem like that's kind of coming to fruition a little bit with the depth that this team has. I mean, in the Minot series, 9 goals, 8 different goal scorers. I forgot, I talked about it with Al about I think it was, 11 goals against North Iowa with 11 different goal scorers, something like that. You've had 15 forwards, or 15 skaters, I should say, score this season, and it's really starting to show that depth. How comfortable are you feeling now really being able to send out any line and knowing that there's a good chance someone on that line can score?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with this. The minute you start feeling comfortable, complacent, it's usually when it turns around and bites you in the butt.
Sure.
But, having said that, we like our group right now. They got to keep it going, though. It's a long season. We're only 11 games in, and, game 59's 7 months away. So having said that, it's we got to keep our foot on the gas, and that's the hard part is, you get through these early months, everybody's excited right now, and they're finding their footing, and some guys will get some quick traction, but then they'll maybe fall off a bit, and they'll be gripping their stick tight, and things won't be going so easy at some point. It happens to a few guys every season, sometimes a team. And, going through that, it's about the mental aspect and how you're thinking, and once again, are you preaching being resilient and the fact that you can come back and win on any game, or are you saying what's wrong with us? What are you doing wrong? If that's the case, then we're going to have a lull in our season. So we want to try to make sure we're sticking with what we're doing right now and ride this.
And we've seen the Bruins play, 4 straight games against North Iowa. Coming up, you have Watertown twice in a matter of 2 weeks. There's teams like St. Cloud and the Mallards who you're not seeing until the end of November for St. Cloud, the end of December for the Mallards. Does that provide any sort of difficulty to fully understanding how the division is going to play out when you're not seeing some of these teams until midway through the season?
Yeah, no, I don't know that really affects anything. The hardest part is, I think with the way our schedule is this year, is when you play the teams that you play early on that make the playoffs, and then you got to see them, and you haven't seen them in 4 months. I'd say it the other way. It's the teams that we're seeing a lot right now. You kind of get used to playing them, and our division a few years ago was only 6 teams, and we were. Majority of the years I've been here, it's only been 6 teams. So we beaten the snot out of each other, over the course of 12 games during a season. There was no hiding any face-off play or doing something different unless you were going to totally revamp either your O zone, your D zone, or what you were doing. It was all, hey, we know what they do. They know what we do. It's about who scores more. Now that we have 8 teams in our division, it's a little bit of a chess match. You got to have good pre-scouting, and Robbie does a really good job for us and watches multiple games and finds out little things that we can tweak or do better. And so having said that, that's what hockey should be, and I think playing those guys in the second half, like, we're going to get to know each other really well in the second half. And, if that goes into the playoffs, then it's great. Like, we just got done playing these guys for 4 months. But then you look back and go, man, well, we haven't seen that team since December, early January. What are they doing now, And they might have a completely different lineup. And those are the hard things, I think, as a coach.
Yeah. Moving on to probably one of the biggest stories, and I feel like it seems like every once in a while we have this same conversation about goaltending, and the big story right before the Minot series, Jack Solomon's back, and I think that came to a shock for some of us here in the front office. definitely for the fans. I don't think any of them really even remotely saw it coming. But Jack, I mean, last year, he and Carl Axelson, we've talked about 1A, 1B. Jack, 34 games, a 1.81 goals against average, a 932 save percentage, 5 shutouts, 24 wins, all of those basically top 5 in some sort of statistical category in Bruins history for goaltenders. I'm just going to kind of leave it at that, and you just kind of talk about the impact of Jack being back.
I definitely didn't anticipate him coming back. Nothing against the USHL, but we've always said it's not a goalie-friendly league.
Sure.
It just isn't. There's a lot of skill up there. The power plays, things like that happen, and the fact that, I feel like, we're an older league, and we dedicate a lot more of our time in the D zone and trying to limit the other team's shots where you get up there and there's a lot of breakdowns that happen when you're dealing with a lot of, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds because USHL tends to be a younger league.
Sure.
And I'm not making excuses for Jack. He might not have, if you talk to him, he might have said he didn't play very well when he was in Lincoln. And, he did the same thing in Sioux Falls. For me, I think he's comfortable here. He likes his billets. He likes the town of Austin and the community, and we've empowered him to be the guy, and coming in, Cody had that same feeling. Now we have both of them. So it's nice as a coach to have two guys you can put in the net at any point. And I think as a player, and thinking back to my playing days, you certainly played different when you had one goalie in versus the other. I don't know that our team plays any different, whether it's Cody or Jack in the net right now, and that's what I like. I wanna build that feeling and that thought process that, hey, we can win every single night no matter who's in the net. And with Axe and Solomon last year, both those guys, they had games where they stole games for us, and it's like, we probably shouldn't have won them, but because of some of the saves they made. And I certainly feel like Cody's kind of established himself as that guy too with us this year, and now getting Solo back, who's done it before, and getting him back in a comfortable environment in our system and the way we play. And I think it just helps. I think everybody feels good about it, and I'm hoping that we can go deep this year with those two in the net.
Andrew Belly announced earlier this week that he was called up to the Des Moines Buccaneers of the USHL, so congratulations to him and good luck to him in his USHL career. Solo getting his first win back in that Friday night come-from-behind victory against Minot, but now fresh off the bye week, a very early bye week compared to what the Bruins had last year. It wasn't until the second weekend in January that the Bruins had the bye week. Nice little midway point of the season. Now it's a little bit early on. Do you see that as the opportunity to fine-tune a couple of things that you needed to fix from these first couple of games, or is it a little bit more of a hindrance since you know that really the only other break you have the rest of the season is that Christmas break in December?
I think it is what you make it,
Sure.
We're going to find out this weekend how we show up and how we play. But going back to what we talked about earlier, with come from behind wins, is it a positive thing or a negative thing? We tried to spin it into a positive that we get a little bit of a break. Some teams get these bye weeks and they're banged up and they need to get healthy again, and we certainly got bumps and bruises, so it might have helped some of those guys. But for us, it was about, once again, doing some team building exercises and stuff together. And at the same time, we're still getting on the ice and trying to work on a few things too. So I thought I spun it in as a positive that it's a much needed break that we're going to get right now. But as you talked about, we're going from here on out. We're going to have our Christmas break, and that's pretty much it. And then it's foot on the gas throughout the entire next 6-7 months.
And talking about bye weeks, Watertown also coming off of a bye week, but they've actually played a little bit less of games than the rest of the Central Division. Bruins have played 11 games. A couple teams in the Central Division have played 13. Watertown's only played 9. They've actually had 2 bye weeks here in the month of October. Talk about how that affects the team's preparation when you're maybe not seeing as much film at this point in the season as maybe you would for other teams.
Yeah, no, it's a little different, but they've had some injuries over there. I think their captain Carter Sproul, he's a pretty good hockey player, and he was on the IR, so I'm sure this is helping him get back to playing. And once again, that's a perfect example of a team that's had some injuries that can really benefit from this. And once again, it is what you make it. So we're going to have to go in there, and it's a tough place to play because they do a great job in Watertown. They have good fans. They usually sell out, and Casey's got a good team this year. The record might not show it, but they played, like you just said, 4 less games than everybody else. Otherwise, they might be a little higher up in the standings. You never know. And last year I brought it up to the guys earlier. I don't think anybody expected them to snap our streak, but they did. And so whatever we were at, 20-some games, and when we go in there and we lose a game, it's one of those learning lessons that I think if you bring that up, especially with the amount of guys we have returning from last year's team, it's going to leave a sour taste in their mouth that, yeah, we were rolling and we took them lightly on, I can't remember if it was a Friday night or a Saturday night that we lost that game, but, for whatever reason, we definitely didn't execute to our expectations, and we didn't win the game. And, I told them, like, don't sleep on these guys. Don't overestimate or underestimate them, I should say. We got to go in there and play our game and make sure we're on it. Otherwise, yeah, they're gonna punch us in the mouth if we don't.
Watertown taking 2 of the 8 games against the Bruins last year, actually in back-to-back contests. It was a Saturday night in Watertown that first week of January, fresh off of the Christmas break, and then had the bye week, welcomed Watertown here to Riverside Arena, and that Friday night an overtime victory before the Bruins getting the win the following night. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was a shutout to end that season series. One more question for you. Jack Kovetsky, who spent a little bit of time here with the Austin Bruins last year, never made it into a game, but once Jack Solomon went up to the Sioux Falls Stampede, he was there with Carl Axelson. He's on the Watertown side of things this year. He actually has a win against Minot, against another former Bruins goalie in Devin Russley, who the Bruins wasn't sure if we were going to see him here. He didn't start either of the games. He came in relief on Saturday night's game. So seen 2 former players, 3 if you count Ashton Hewer, who wasn't able to suit up. He was battling an injury for Janesville this year. But 3 players that you formerly coached last year. You've been with the Bruins for 9 seasons. So is this something like this happen often where you have a player on your team one year and then in the future seasons you might be coaching against them? And, what goes through your head when you put in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, I think those guys want to play well in front of their former teams, especially, the ones that played full seasons. You got to think back, like, we had Will Diamond here. He was an Aberdeen wing before we got him, and this year we got Mikey Coleman. He's going to have to go into St. Cloud, 8 times or 4 times there and 4 times here. So he's going to have to play his former team quite a bit. And, those guys always get up for those games. I was a little surprised that, we didn't see Russley a couple weeks ago just because, we did. We saw him in the third period, but and he played really well. It's just one of those, maybe I think they're trying to figure out the goaltending situation over there. But Kovetsky, yeah, he could certainly get the start, and he could be wanting to show us that, hey, he should have been here all year, but, the only reason we got rid of him was because we ended up having Jack get back, and we put him in Springfield. It'd be no different if Watertown played Springfield. He'd probably want to get up for that game too. But at the same time, Jack's a good goalie. He's played for the Anaheim Junior Ducks, and one of our scouts out there runs that team or coaches the U18 team, August Aiken, and we heard a lot of good things, and he was a great fit for us up until we got Jack back, and we were able to find him another home pretty quick, and we were happy that he's still in the league. Same thing with Andrew Belly. He's going up to the USHL, and geez, when we first got that call, it was before we knew Jack was coming back. I was sitting there, going cross-eyed, going, oh man, not this again. I got to find another goalie. And then, all of a sudden, all the stars aligned, and our Ducks got in a row, and we were able to move Andrew up to up to Des Moines, and then we were able to get Jack back into his old billet. So.
And I did say that was the final question. I do have one more kind of surprise for you. We didn't go over it beforehand. You said you watched Al's episode, and I did ask Al a question on who would score on him first in a shootout, you or Robbie Murray. I would ask you that same question, but I feel like I would know the answer. I'm going to ask it to you anyway. If you and Robbie were going up against Al in a shootout, who would score first against Al?
Out of me and Robbie?
Out of you and Robbie.
Yeah, it would be me all day long.
And Al brought up the point that you did score on him in your pro career. So I guess that's an unfair question. I feel like I have to come up with a better question to see what you three coaches would do. Because the reason I asked this question, Josh Bartosik, the new broadcaster up for the Rochester Grizzlies, he's been asking the Grizzlies coaching staff that sort of question. And of course, Marty was very confident in himself that he would score before Coach Bob and Coach Bub and. I
think most coaches are going to be confident in themselves. I probably would have picked me over a lot of guys, to be honest with you. But that's just because I like the pressure. Like I would want the puck on my stick in the last minute of a game, and I wanted to shoot in the shootouts. I did quite a bit in my pro career. He as a defenseman, and in Huntsville we kind of had a straight setting, and I would always go in the middle. But yeah, it was one of those things that. Yeah, by all means. I didn't get to play against Al very often. I think I only faced him maybe a couple of times. So that's a nice feather in my cap that I like to bring up, even 20 some years later, that I got to score that goal. But he did knock us out of the playoffs that game. So it was too little, too late for anything else. We needed to win that game. I think there was 3 games left in the season. We had to win out, I believe, and Al ended up knocking us out of playoff contention in San Angelo in the Central Hockey League back in 2002. So long time ago.
I think I do have an updated question. So last week we were able to post a shootout video where goaltending coach Nick Lear, he put the pads back on, put the U of M stuff. Who do you think it'd be easier to score a goal on in a shootout, Al or Nick? Again, you've scored on Al before, so now you have a little bit of experience on one of them. So
yeah, but Al's such an unorthodox goalie. Like he was kind of like a Dominic Hasek, if that makes sense for anybody that's my age that grew up watching Dominic Hasek. He was athletic and could flop around. Not that Lear's not, but Lear is more positionally sound. So you need to score routine goals that would work against maybe a Lear, and with Al, you might see a double leg stack windmill kick that would knock a puck out of the air. So that's where I don't know which one would be easier. And I know we posted that video of Lear getting scored on, and we didn't post all the ones that he saved. He saved a lot. So he was battling, and we just posted the ones that he got scored on.
In my defense, those were the ones Al sent me, so we blame Al. Didn't want to show that Nick could make the save, so maybe he almost knew I was going to ask this question.
So once again, I don't know which one I would score on. I'd probably score on neither of them. They probably both save it, but I would definitely I definitely put myself ahead of Robbie as far as scoring first. Now, having said that, I would love the challenge if we can get Al back in the gear at one point this year. Now, we did it last year, and he saved every shot I had on him, and a couple of them were multiple whacks at it.
And Robbie scored on him.
Yeah.
So, maybe we
I think we should challenge it.
Maybe later in the season, maybe we gotta do this if we can convince Al to get back in the pads. I think he was sore for 2 months after that video, and I do have a video of him almost dying in the locker room just after he took his pads off. He was so tired.
Wow.
But anyway, this has been another edition of the Austin Bruins Coaches Show, breaking down what we have for this Watertown series coming up. You can catch both games here on NAHLTV.com. I'll be on the call, 7 o'clock puck drop both nights from Watertown. Or if you feel like going out and having some great food, head on over to the official road game destination of your Austin Bruins, Lansing Corners. Both games will be on there, both on Friday and Saturday. Bruins are back in town next week as they host the Aberdeen Wings Friday and Saturday night, the 7th and 8th. You can get your tickets at tickets.austinbruins.com. Coach, thanks for another great episode of the Coaches Show.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time right here on the Austin Bruins YouTube channel. Have a great week, everybody.